market lighting, and that's where DOP Choice is involved. Stefan Karl is the managing director and the owner of DOP Lighting. And Stefan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
There are 800 million lighting companies in the world. I've counted every single one of them. And why should I pay any attention to DOP Choice?
Because we are serving a perfect accessory for this 800 million, or how many million?
800 million lighting companies. So what have you got? First, tell me about the company. What does DOP Choice do?
DOP Choice, we are doing all the accessory for lighting fixtures. So we have started with simple...
A visual aid? We've got something. This is cool. Normally we're used to radio and we can't show anything.
Yeah, but we have a sound also here. You hear this snap?
Yeah.
It's a snap. So these are the grids, the snap grids.
I hear a marketing line in there. Okay, look at that, an egg crate.
It's an egg crate. It's with a self-stabilizing frame outside. This makes this little snap sound. So basically, this you're using in front of soft sources. And it
you have to be
it
especially talented to hold this, or it ends up going crazy. Look at that, isn't that cool?
So this was one of our first product. So we used it a lot in chimeras and also in larger panel frames.
But Stefan, look at this. This thing has absolutely no stability. Where do I have to get a frame for this thing?
No, you don't need a frame. You need just a soft box or your panel. Your panel, like your LED panel, where you mount it on, and it will hold over there. So we have different kinds of possibilities to attach it to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what else have you got? What are you announcing that's new at the show?
What's new at the show is that we have extended our rapid ear system. So basically we have our smaller snap bags. This is the base that we had that are dedicated to most of the LED lights, but you can mount it directly on LED panels. So for example, this is for just 1x1 panels, to make a 1x1 panel even softer and a little bit bigger from the surface. And if you really want to go in a much bigger way, in a bigger light source, you need a kind of stabilization frame that you attach inside or on the fixture. Let's say we had in the past a speed ring. But a speed ring on a panel frame does not make any sense.
No.
You can make it super big with speed ring, but then it's really hard to transport it. So we made a simple trick just to give a frame some ears.
Oh, look at that.
So finally you come on the round shape. You have 8 holes over here, and this enables you to put this in front of your light. So for example, this is a special version, because you have some smaller lighting fixtures and you want to gang them together.
Like a light panels 1x1 kind of thing.
1x1 panels, yeah.
I got it.
And with ones you can just put 2 into it, and now you have a huge opportunity and selection of soft boxes that you can put in front. We call it
so cool.
The snap bags. So you have.
I like your portable lighting gear. That's very nice.
It's really easy to transport, especially if you come from Germany. So basically, the rabbit ear family is growing, like rabbits always do. You have the advantage.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, sorry. You have the advantage that you can use on all these rabbit ears that we have as many different soft boxes: Octa 3, Octa 5, Octa 7, a medium soft box, or even a lantern that you can use for a top light or as a kind of space light. So it's really nice. You invest one time into a frame. You have some adapters that you add to this frame, and then you are compatible to each and every panel light on the market. And even for the future, you're future-proofed. But you attach some new adapters for a new light that is coming up.
But there's a lot of companies that make this kind of I don't want to say gels, because that's too narrow, but this kind of attachment for lighting. What is it that makes DOP worth considering? Give me a commercial for you.
It's a thing. It's a one-time investment. that gives you an easy access for all the future products that are coming on the market or that are existing on the market. So especially for a rental house, it's easy. You rent one day your snapbacks out with a Cineo light, the next day you rent it out with a Ari, the next day you rent it out with a Gemini from light panels, whatever. So you're really flexible, and this flexibility...
Because it's not locked into a specific lighting instrument.
Correct. It's not dedicated to one simple lighting fixture, so this helps a lot.
What happens if I want to color the light? Now, with some LEDs, I can dial in a color, but with others, I've got to put gels in. Can I work with gels on your stuff as well?
Yes, sure. So, for example, with our partner, the Rec Place, we have access to the gel fabs that are fabrics that you just put in front of your frame, and when you have a warmer look or a cooler look, whatever you like to have, it's possible.
So what are you looking at next? What's coming up? Or, I don't want to cut you off, is there more new stuff we need to talk about? Or can we talk about things that you're looking at for the future?
I think what we are looking for future is like what we see more and more of a thing that fabrics and LEDs are getting more and more popular. That means like that they put LEDs on fabrics to make it lightweight and trying to give easy solutions to hang them in a narrow roof thing, and we are I've just started to show the first products also over there. We call it the snap boxes, but diffuse again with lights, because what we like is to have is like a large light source, but it has to be diffused, and then we can control it again with our grids. So it's a whole family that we provide as accessory for with new lights and all the panel lights that are on the market.
Now, you guys are based in Germany, but do you ship across the world? So do
Yes.
I need to worry about getting product from Germany if I'm here in the States, like LA?
In LA, for example, we are collaborating with the Rec Place. They have a branch in Atlanta and also in LA. We are manufacturing it also in the US, so it's made in the US, so it's quite a nice combination of our two companies that we have in here.
What is it that got you into this field? This is not something that a 10-year-old looks up at the sky and says, I want to make lighting accessories. What is it that caught your eye about this?
I was frustrated as a cinematographer that there was no right tool on the market at this moment. And I played around with the thing, and I started to invest money, and I want to have a return of this investment. So, yeah.
So where can people go on the web to learn more about the products that you have to offer?
So on the web, we have two web pages. One is dopchoice.com, or in the US, it's therecplace.com. And you can follow us also on Instagram and Facebook and see a lot of behind the scenes.
On all the favorite social media places they can be found, but the one place on the web that you want to consider is a website called dopchoice.com. And Stefan Karl is the founder and the managing director and the owner, and goodness all knows what else. But Stefan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
Have
you so
yourself
much.
a great show.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
We're going to shift gears from lighting to looking at the results of the lighting, and that means we're going to be looking at monitors, and monitors means small HD, and Weston, we'll call him Wes Phillips, is the co-founder of Small HD. Wes, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Larry.
For people that haven't heard, and this is like an annual event for the two of us to check up and see what's going on, but let's pretend people have not heard of Small HD. Is it a new video format?
No, it is not. No, they'd have to crawl out from under the rock and look around a great place like NAB, and they'll see our monitors sitting on cameras. And we're about 10 years old now, but we started off with the very first true high-definition display for on-camera monitoring purposes. And that was our start. And since then, we've been adding all kinds of tools and other features that have helped filmmakers get the shots that they ultimately want to get and kind of stay in a creative mindset versus having to think about all the technical bits and bobs.
Well, some cameras have monitors and some cameras don't. Why should I consider adding your monitor as opposed to having something really nice and big next to the camera?
Well, we have big monitors too.
No way.
Yeah,
A small HD
it's
that's
kind
big?
of we thought about changing the name, but isn't a 24-inch monitor sort of small for HD these
Well,
days?
if you compare it to a 65-inch,
Exactly.
it's small. Yeah.
For sure. But we did start with sort of the camera top approach. And most camera manufacturers provide a display, but they're also trying to keep the cost of that camera down, and they sacrifice quality of the display. And most of the time they are not daylight viewable, and most of our products these days have a bright screen that allows you to see them in broad daylight.
Not just a bright screen. They have a booth which is a tent, which is outside. It's the size of the state of Rhode Island, and you go out and you look at their monitors, and in daylight you can actually see the picture on the monitor without having to squint or put it in a hood. I mean, this is really, these things are bright.
They are. We've worked really hard. This is our brightest monitor to date. It's a higher end device, but comparatively, this is an 800 nit monitor, which is about twice what your smartphone is. This is a 3000 nit monitor, and
does it melt?
It doesn't. It doesn't actually. It's big enough to wick the heat off and everything. And we've even managed to fit a wireless receiver unit in here that's compatible with Teradek transmitters and the new transmitters that we have launched at this show that are in this form factor. And this is just a really exciting product. Just taking away cables and extra gear that you have to find power for. It's a consolidation of devices, which the filmmakers are really happy about.
But most of your monitors, if not all of them, are designed to be mounted to the camera or the camera rig itself, so that you're able to see at the camera point what the shot looks like. And you're taking a feed directly from the camera, so whatever the camera is recording is seen on your monitor, correct?
That's exactly right.
Now, if I'm shooting a Rec 709 in HD, your monitors will display that, I assume.
That's correct.
How about HDR? And how do you handle HDR?
HDR can be handled a host of different ways because there's different standards for them that are emerging. It's still sort of confusing, honestly, in the market about what is HDR. At the end of the day, most of today's cameras, especially the higher end ones, are capable of capturing so many stops of dynamic range that you can use post-production techniques to make that HDR content for delivery. Being able to preview it in HDR is really what our job is to provide the cinematographer a view into what the post-production footage might look like. And so being able to turn things on in the menu that use some of the current standards of today, at least with our brighter monitors, you can get a preview of what that HDR might look like.
Well, HDR is actually three things. It's more pixels in the image, which generally means 4K, maybe bigger. It means wider color gamut, which means greater saturation. It means more brightness, higher nit levels than the 100 nits that we work with now in HD. Which of these three do you help with?
Mainly, it's the brightness, because HDR, at the end of the day, your eye responds far more to contrast than a slight enhancement in resolution. So if for people who've sort of been guinea pigs for looking at 1080p footage that's HDR versus 4K footage that is not, they gravitate toward the HDR because of the increase in contrast. And so that's what our monitors are providing, a brighter image that is more like what you see in nature versus what you see on a 100 nit Rec 709 calibrated display.
Well, the other thing is HDR really is made in color grading at the very end where you're setting the final look. So here you just want to get a sense of the relationships in brightness. We're not actually crafting the final image. We just want to monitor what we're shooting to see how badly blown out or not blown out it is. That's, I assume, where your monitors excel.
Yes, that's what the broad scope, especially the on-camera monitors, that's mainly meant as that sort of that preview to give you a sense and a taste that your lighting is correct and that you're making the right adjustments there. We do have a 17-inch monitor, our 1703 P3X. It's a very bright monitor.
P3X.
Yeah, it's P3 gamut, so it's a larger gamut like you're talking about, and its contrast is very high and it's very bright. So there's a couple shooters who like that monitor, and they actually are grading HDR content on it. But it's kind of our one that kind of fits the post-production need.
So how many different on-camera monitors do you have? And the question then is, how do I decide which one to use?
Good question. Our website at smallhd.com will help you kind of narrow that down. But we have on-camera monitors that range in size from 5 inches to 7, and price from $500 to $4,000, depending on what you need. And there's a huge variety of things. If you need wireless, that will help funnel you properly. We just at the show launched some wireless versions of this monitor. It's a very affordable wireless solution. So a transmitter and a receiver that have wireless would be $12.99 per unit, compared to, again, to this $4,000 unit. And then if you're just looking for something that's, you know, to sit on your camera, this focus unit at $500 has been very, very popular for us over the past year.
Is the monitor the same as I'm getting it, and what we're doing is we're attaching different capabilities to the monitor, or am I buying different quality of monitor for different prices?
It depends. So the Focus that we launched last year was sort of a starting point for a whole breed of monitors we launched at this NAB. So we have a SD. This is HDMI. We have an SDI version of this. So same display, new connector. We have an OLED version of this. It's as opposed to 720p, it's 1080p and OLED. So higher gamut, higher contrast, and it's slightly bigger, 5.5 inch. And then there's an SDI version of that as well. And then again, the wireless units are this display, so it's the brighter display. We think that'll be great for gimbal operators, having a wireless transmitter, a lightweight one sitting on top of your gimbal, providing a wireless signal to someone doing follow focusing or a video village or whatever it is. And that's sort of the point of that display. So there's so many different needs for monitors that continue to grow. So we're trying to, you know, hit all the right niches, basically.
Your inventory must drive you nuts.
It is a disaster. It's in an effort to make it easier for the customer to choose. It's really hard on us to like kit and package these things appropriately. But at the end of the day, we want people to buy a solution and not have to buy something that they then have to go figure out how to mount it, how to power it, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to do that up front, make it easy.
You get a gold star for helping the consumer, but I do not want to be there when it's time to count all the widgets that you've got. That's got to be a nightmare. For people that want more information, where can they go on the web?
They should go to smallhd.com.
That's all one word, the word small, SMALLHD, with no space.
And corporate filmmaker in mind. Airing live every Thursday night and available anytime on iTunes, The BuZZ presents in-depth interviews with people creating and using media technology to create films seen around the world. On The BuZZ, you'll hear the latest industry news from James DeRuvo, the opinions of experts like Philip Hodgetts, Ned Soltz, Larry O'Connor, and Michael Kamas, and discussions with filmmakers around the world. The BuZZ began in 2000 to enable media creators to improve their skills and keep up with the ever-changing world of media. For the last 18 years, we've continued that tradition. We invite you to join us every week on the Digital Production Buzz.
For those of you that have been following our coverage at the 2018 NAB show, you're going to say, Larry, wait a minute, there's a problem here. There's pictures. What are you doing with pictures on the Digital Production Buzz? Well, about 2 months ago, we were contacted by a company called Cinemaker, who's launching a brand new product here at NAB, which is a mobile multi-camera streaming solution. And Gary and Benjamin said, hey, why don't you come join us at our booth? And we said, talk us into it. And after a month of talking us into it, we said, this is a brilliant idea. So here we are at the Cinemaker booth doing video streaming for one show a day here at NAB, the 2 o'clock show on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And I thought it would be appropriate for us to talk to some of the driving forces behind Cinemaker to learn more about their products, which gets me to Gary Baker. He's the Senior Vice President for Corporate Development and one of the people that's been very instrumental in bringing the buzz to Cinemaker. Gary, first, thanks for the opportunity. We've been having a great time. And second, tell us about what Cinemaker is, because you're brand new.
We are. Well, thank you, Larry. Thank you very much for including us, and it's been a pleasure to have you. Cinemaker is basically a video platform, mobile first, that was created to help pretty much everyone become professional at video production. We are a multi-camera production studio platform that actually can be switched live and recorded and taken to a place where people can can become absolutely professional from that process.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about NAB this year is they've got what's called the Connected Media platform of this area in the South Upper Hall, and there are 800 million, because I've counted them too, 800 million streaming vendors in some way, shape, or form. Why should somebody consider Cinemaker over some of the other competitors that are out there?
Well, that's a great question. We actually have waged war on the single camera shoot, if you will. We found a way to actually bring multiple cameras together in one interface and be able to switch between them and make a much more professional product.
So tell us what's going on here at the booth. Tell me about the equipment that you're using. Tell us about the software. People can't necessarily see it, but describe how the pictures are being recorded and how you're putting the show together.
So we actually have 4 cameras here, which, as you mentioned, nobody is able to see, but you can see the result of it. And 3 of them are iPhones, and one of them is a Panasonic professional video camera.
The iPhones, by the way, are getting the close-ups, and the Panasonic's got a wide 2-shot cover from the center.
That's right. And sitting on the other side of the camera that's directly in front of me is Tony, who's switching using an iPad. And he's actually selecting shots by touching the screens on the iPad, and has graphics controls, has full audio controls and mixing controls, and is able to ultimately present a live stream with multiple cameras being switched live.
So why was the decision made to develop Cinemaker in the first place?
There was it's an interesting moment. Our founder, Benjamin Nowak, who I've known for many years and is a brilliant technologist, was working on a platform that was all about audio and all about synchronization. And there were some other players in that field that came about, and he made a decision one day while sitting at a traffic light. And he said, I think this needs to be a video product. I think we can absolutely define a new way to integrate all of these elements of cameras in perfect synchronization, which is really the secret sauce to what Cinemaker has become.
Now, what does perfect synchronization mean?
So think about this, that when you take an iPhone, now it originally was created to be just a phone with all sorts of apps that later came about. And by the way, a camera is part of it, and video cameras then became part of it. The idea of being able to take multiple iPhone cameras and send a live feed directly to an iPad to control the cameras requires synchronization. Synchronization meaning that if I'm talking to this camera and then all of a sudden I want to go to that camera, I have to be in perfect sync.
So we can have a clean switch so the picture doesn't break up.
We've been switching cameras for many, many years using technology that required a lot of cables plugging in and
time-based correctors. I remember
time-based
those.
correctors.
Frame syncs.
Yes, exactly. And we use time code, and we use the clappers to get things ready for editing. Well, in the digital format has been defined. We don't necessarily have to work with time code anymore. But what we do work with are the algorithms that have brought the sync together, and that's really the secret sauce of what Cinemaker has done.
So who do you see as the potential market? I mean, clearly you want everybody and their cousin to buy, but who do you think is going to be the key driver initially?
That's really a great question, Larry. You know, we've been testing the market quite a bit over the last 6 months, and certainly Ben's been thinking about it much longer. But when it really comes down to it, we have a solution that's really value priced. It requires you to already own the equipment, which is iPhones and iPads. But it does work with professional cameras now too, and DSLR cameras, and any camera with a HDMI output. So we can put together a solution that's so low key for professionals, but also for those right in the middle tier market, the prosumers, if you want to call them, those that are doing marketing inside of companies, or education is requiring a lot of video now. Certainly the churches and the ministries and all sorts of other use cases have come about. So we're finding, especially being here at NAB, there's a lot of people coming up to us and saying, here's my use case. I'm a videographer and I shoot weddings, and so I want a low profile, low footprint solution. And when they see Cinemaker and they see it in action with everything that it offers, all the bells and whistles, the result is, I think we're finding our market. We'll get there, but it's we just need a lot of people to see it.
And how are you pricing the service?
It's actually a pretty flexible pricing plan. We are starting out with a software as a service model at a monthly fee of $20 a month. We do have an annual license that can be updated over time, and that's $200 a year. And the price of the license to buy it outright is $5.99.
$5.99. And what do I get?
What you get is the software that gets loaded onto the iPad. You get software that gets loaded onto each of the iPhones. And you ultimately have the ability to start broadcasting and shooting more professional-like video production in real time. You also get the ability to take what you record and live stream and edit it in post to re-edit things, because we maintain perfect sync even after you've shot it, which means you can go back, such as your live stream today, and you can re-edit the whole thing if you wanted to, or just pieces of it. And then finally, it outputs to Final Cut Pro and to Premiere, all intact, with all of the assets moving into those programs, with all of the edit decisions, etc.
So for people that want to learn more, where can they go on the web?
We are available at Cinemaker.net, and I want to spell that for your folks. That's CINAMAKER.net.
That's all one word, C-I-N-A, Cine, Maker, M-A-K-E-R, and Gary Baker is the Senior Vice President for Corporate Development for Cinemaker. And Gary, thanks for the invitation, and thanks for joining us.
It's been
today.
a pleasure, Larry. Thank you.
It's been such a... Wait. Hang on, I got to come back again. I got much more to say. Don't kill my mic quite so soon. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about, but one of the things that I love about experimenting with new technology like Cinemaker is the ability to showcase new ways of telling stories with pictures that doesn't necessarily involve the process that we've used in the past. And showing how that works and talking to the people that have created the technology is one of the exciting things that we have here on the BuZZ. By the way, coming up next hour, we're going to be talking with Lux Machina and Padcaster and Bird Dog and the famous Serena Catania, talking about what she's learned on filmmaking. I want to thank our guests for today. That is to say, Paul Cobelia from VER and Stephen Carl from DOP Choice and Wes Phillips from Small HD and Gary Baker for Cinemaker. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and you're watching the Digital Production Buzz at the 2018 NAB show. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with another show in audio from our booth downstairs.
The NAB show Buzz is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC. The digital production Buzz at NAB is sponsored by Maxon,